So I'm running for Congress. As you already know, I'm Stephanie Jones, and I'm running for U.S. Congress in Nevada District-3, which is basically southern Las Vegas, Henderson, Boulder City, Laughlin, and the southern tip of Nevada. It's a little tiny part, but that's where most of the population is. It's like 90% of the population. I already did a video on who owns our land. As you know, the federal government owns 85% of Nevada, and we're still treated like a territory. And because Las Vegas and Clark County is surrounded by the federal land, which is policed by the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, who carries guns, we can't expand. So the population is just constantly moving inward, and we're getting smushed. And we have like tinier and tinier backyards. The roads are not getting any bigger. There's no extra lanes. And I mean, just to go 4 miles, it takes me 15-20 minutes anymore. It's getting ridiculous out here. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about, touch on a couple things, healthcare and taxes. And I will address the shooting and guns and their Second Amendment. I just had a couple of notes here about taxes. A good friend of ours he was a CPA, and he used to work for the IRS, and he is our go-to tax guy. He literally is a walking encyclopedia. He's actually registered independent. So his name is Derek Collada. He's here in Henderson, and he's an amazing tax guy. He is by the book. He knows the laws inside and out. Some of his frustrations, just kind of want to go over it really quickly, is Social Security benefits. They're taxed right now. A lot of people don't know that. Social Security benefits are taxed, and they should not be taxed because that is a double tax. That should be removed completely. My personal opinion, you know, I would like to go in a time machine and go back to 1912 before the Titanic sunk, where you had a lot of wealthy people who were opposing the federal central banks, you know, which, you know, came into place in 1913, and that is when income tax started. And it's also, they illegally ratified the 14th Amendment, no, the 16th Amendment. I might have to check that, not quite sure. I think it's the 16th Amendment, which is what started the central banking system and income tax. You could look into that, but when 1913 came around and the central banks and the amendment to the Constitution, that is also when the IRS came about as well, the police for taxes. So my opinion, you know, we had this industrial revolution because people got to keep what they earned. We're not there right now. We're dealing with the present, so I have to deal with the present as well. We'll start with Social Security benefits. They should not be taxed. That's a double tax. That should be illegal. Also, when dealing with the IRS in an audit, collections or an audit, people need to be able to call a 90-day timeout. This is from CPA people, not just Derek, but many people that do taxes, especially, you know, trying to call the IRS. You can't get a hold of them. You're online for hours and hours. And so say you're in an audit and they in a collection and they're hounding you. You know, they're not audited at all. They're, you know, the police, and people are, you know, they don't have all their ducks in a row and they don't know what to do. You should be able to call a 90-day time out to get all of your documents in order. That's fair. Number 3, capital losses should be indexed for inflation. I think right now you can only deduct if you lose, say, in the stock market or whatever you're, you know, have lost that you've spent money on and for investments. You can only deduct, I think currently, I think it's $3,000 right now, and it's not, and it's. I'm trying to think what he told me. It's been stuck there since I think the 80s, and it's not caught up with inflation currently. It should be about $6,000 to $9,000 a year that you should be able to deduct for losses. And then the last thing is the tax filings. They need to be extended 30 days. For corporations, right now corporations have to file March 15th. That should be extended to April 15th. And for personal filings, everybody knows April 15th. That should be extended to May 15th, just because the tax code has gotten so complicated. And you know what hides in complication? Yeah, a lot of chaos. But oh hey, people like Bezos and Amazon, they don't pay any taxes. I wish they could carry that down to us little people, right? Yeah, no, we're paying, and people are like, oh, it's not as bad as other countries. Well, you know, we are not other countries. So I'm sorry, I'm tired of hearing that. We are not other countries. We are the United States of America, and we're paying too much taxes. We should be able to keep what we earn and stop paying for people who don't earn anything. I'm sorry, that might be hardcore, but I don't like giving to people who are lazy and leeching off of the system. There are always exceptions to that rule, but unfortunately, the majority are leeching off the system. Okay, that's enough on taxes. Let's talk about healthcare. What is healthcare? Is healthcare really caring about your health? Or is it a pretty name that they've changed in the last 15, 20 years, which is health insurance? Insurance, as in if something happens to you that you can't afford to pay for medically, your insurance will pay for it because medical costs are too expensive and you can't afford it. So you're paying a company that should cover you in case of an emergency, because if something happens, you will not be able to afford it because the medical costs are astronomical. I mean, you go to the emergency, if you have to stay overnight, it's at least $500 to $1,000 a night. You could stay at a really fancy hotel and have a great time for less than that. So let's talk about what is healthcare. Really, it's not caring about your health. It's a sly way of saying that medical costs, Western medicine medical costs, are unaffordable. So they've conned you in, and now they made it mandatory, and who's benefiting? You've got insurance companies and the medical industry who were out of control, and now you got the insurance companies that are out of control. Let me point something out here, because the insurance companies only cover Western medicine, which has only been around for not even 150 years. Why don't they cover Eastern medicine? That's been around for 8,000 years. Look it up. I did. It's been around 8,000 years. Acupuncture, back then they used to make the needles out of stone. Then they gradually went into, fabricating with metal and making needles. They have, and even China to this day, they have combined the old school acupuncture with modern medicine, which is Western medicine. Also, it doesn't cover South American medicine. They deal mostly with, whereas Eastern medicine deals with like the energy. We are, little batteries. We're more electrical than we are chemical. South American medicine deals mostly with like the liquid. We are 72% water based, and we have a circulatory system. We have blood that goes in and out of our heart. Everybody knows this. If the channels are cut off, the circuit needs to continue. That is common sense. Why isn't Western medicine covering Eastern medicine, which is mostly Asian? Why aren't they covering South American medicine, which is mostly Mexican, Spanish, Argentina, Brazil? They all have different variations of their own medicine. They don't cover that. We have all of these cultures in our country, but Western medicine is the only one that is covered by insurance. Don't you think that's a little prejudiced? There's also African medicine. I don't know much about that, but I know that they have a different, cultural medicine. But Western medicine is the only medicine that is covered by health insurance, or we call it health care, to hide the fact that Western medicine is unaffordable. And let's look at this. Why would they only cover Western medicine? Why wouldn't they cover? I go to acupuncture, a session. I had this is my own personal experience. I didn't know what to do. because chiropractic didn't help. I had a hip problem from sports injuries, you know, like 10, 15 years ago. It got to the point where I was limping so badly. I couldn't even go hiking. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't work out. So I finally broke down, and my Asian nail person recommended Oriental medicine. They're called ODs, an Oriental OM doctor, and he is here in Las Vegas. The first visit was $75. I could afford that, so I paid him, and I was there probably an hour and a half. And it covered the acupuncture, the stimulations, which is electrical attachments to the needles for about 15 minutes, and it also covered the consultation. And then if I needed any like herbal, his whole office was like, one side was the raw herbs, the other side was like more like barcoded, or not barcoded, but powders of the herbs. And I am telling you, I walked out of there with no pain, and I was so afraid it was going to come back right away, and it didn't. I did purchase like a homeopathic oil and a salve, a cream, and so the first visit was $75. Every visit after that was only $55. And I'm telling you, it's supposed to be an hour visit, but I was there like 90 minutes every single time, and it was worth the 25-minute drive each way. And I mostly slept the whole time, so I got a really good nap. That's affordable. That's why they don't cover it. And guess what cultural medicines have cures for cancer? Eastern Medicine, South American Medicine. I know people that couldn't get any help going to a regular doctor, and her husband was so sick, and they were Mexican, and so they finally went to one of these little hole-in-the-wall places down in Las Vegas. Not a very good part of town, but it was one of these, you know, like Mexican doctors, and they have like a little teeny tiny office, whatever, and they gave him some injection. They didn't even know what it was. He was fine the next day, completely fine the next day. That's why healthcare does not want to cover other culture medicine, because they have cures for disease. Did you know? And the guy who discovered this, and I can't remember his name, won a Nobel Prize, because if your body is in perfect pH balance, which is around, I think it's around like 6.5 to like 6.8, distilled water is neutral. It's 7.0 pH balance. The scale goes from acidic is 0, like battery acid, to 14, which is alkaline, and that is like lye. Okay? That cleans drains. 7 is neutral, and that's where distilled water is. Your blood is at 7.2. When your body is in perfect pH balance, and there's little sticks, you can get them on Amazon and check your urine or your saliva, and if you're in perfect pH balance, you cannot hold a disease. You cannot get sick at all. That's why it's very important, which is basically the cure for cancer. If you can keep your body in pH balance, you will not get sick. Only sick people spend money on healthcare. If you don't get sick, you don't spend any money other than what you're forced to pay for your health insurance in case something goes bad. Notice how so many people are sick now, you know, and you can do the homework yourself to maybe look into why there's more sick people now than ever before. But yeah, I'm a total conspiracy theorist. I love looking into stuff like that. It's very fun, and I like to solve the problems. I want to fix things. That is what I do. That is also why I'm running for Congress, because Nevada is sick. We're not getting better. We don't have any more land. We're not expanding. You know, if we opened up the land and gave it to the people instead of the city of Henderson selling our land for half the price, not to the little people that live here that maybe could start some small businesses down here on St. Rose Parkway. Oh, we're gonna sell it to the Raiders practice area. You know, they're losing millions of dollars by doing that. We live here. What about the people that live here? We don't get breaks like that. We don't get to buy an acre for $110,000. No, because the going rate is like $223 an acre in the Las Vegas area. You know, you go up north to like Elko and you can buy an acre for $1,500 because it's freaking cold. But there's only little teeny tiny sections all over Nevada that are even available to be sold to the little people, to the private sector. So that's my stance on taxes, and that is my stance on health insurance. I don't even go to the doctor. I'm getting ready to cancel my insurance because now with the new tax bill that Trump pushed through and was able to get through, they finally eliminated the mandate. So now I can choose to try to keep my body in pH balance. And, you know, calling 911, I hate to say this, but calling 911 and having the paramedics come who are better than the doctors most of the time, that's free. Unless you go to the hospital, only then do you have to pay. But the guys that are going to come and save your life when you call 911, you don't have to go to the doctor. That is free, and you don't have to pay a dime. So just food for thought. I'm Stephanie Jones, and I approve this message.